With key economic events this week, combined with a massive sell-off last week, are we finally due for a big relief rally? Plus, whales are piling into this one altcoin, possibly before a big pump. This is your Altcoin Buzz news. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Cody, and if you're new here, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you know when we drop latest content. Follow us on Twitter, altcoinbuzz.io, and as always, this is not financial advice, and wish the best of luck in your crypto ventures. Also, make sure to join us for our X Spaces, Tuesday to Friday at 9 a.m. EST, link down below. All right, good morning, guys. So we have a lot going on this week, and last week we actually had a pretty big week as well in terms of just the size of this red candle here. About a $14,000 down candle last week. Unfortunately, we have broken below this 50-week moving average, which we talked about last week, which typically has signaled the end of bull runs in the past. Usually, if we close below it for 2 weeks. So it is very possible that we do, come back above it and reclaim it this week, which is around $100,500. If we do reclaim that, then we could still possibly go higher. But losing that last week was a very bearish signal. And so, unfortunately, a lot of bearish things have lined up. But I do think because of all this bearishness that we had last week, we are probably due for a relief rally this week. Usually, we don't just continue down without some kind of at least small pump heading into this week. So, if we go back to the daily chart, one thing I will say, and this is important for later in this video, is the yearly open is around $93,000. And we came just to that yesterday. We wicked just below it last night on Sunday. And so we are holding above it right now, and we're holding at this kind of support around $93,000 to $95,000 right now. But this is important because the yearly open was around $93,000. So that means if we go below that, we are red on the year. So that's going to be important in a little bit when we get to this other talking point. But I do think we probably have a bit of a bounce today. Or this week, I don't think we are just going to straight break through this today. I'd be surprised, but it's possible. I think we probably have some kind of reclaim and pump at least back up to $100,000 at this level here at the very least. But I think it is possible we could, have a pretty big short squeeze after this huge downtrend. So it is possible we go between $100,000 and somewhere around $105,000, $107,000 up to this level here. So this is the very least, I think, $101,000. But it is possible also we come up here as well. And if I was still in spot, which I'm not anymore, we talked about last Friday. If I was still in spot, I probably would be de-risking on this relief rally here. Doesn't mean you have to, and doesn't mean you can't ever buy the coins again. But if I was still in spot and I wanted to de-risk, I'd probably be doing it on any kind of pump up into this area. And then if we continue higher, if we are finally, going to get this altcoin season, maybe in Q1, you can always buy back higher. Once we have confirmed that we are having strength, because right now we just have a lot of weakness. So it would look something like this, where I would de-risk going into this, 102 to 107 zone. And then maybe we finally start taking off again and Bitcoin, reclaims this and we start going to new highs. Well, then I could get back into altcoins or Bitcoin at these levels once we have made these higher highs. And we are actually looking strong again. So that's what I'm looking for right now. Not to say I'm never getting back in altcoins, and maybe we do have this second kind of blow off top in Q1 this year. But this is where I would be doing it right now, because of going into year round, a lot of times funds and big institutions have a risk off, for tax purposes and kind of locking gains and all that. So that's what I'm looking for right now. I do think we will probably get some kind of short squeeze earlier this week. Now, starting off this week, we have key economic events. On Monday, today, we have the New York Fed manufacturing data. On Wednesday, we have Fed meeting minutes and NVIDIA earnings, which is huge. It's kind of holding up the whole market right now. We also have Thursday, September jobs report, existing homes sales data. And on Friday, we have November PMI data, MI consumer sentiment, inflation expectations. And all week, we have 14 Fed speaker events. So at the same time, we have the Kobayashi letter saying, what is happening in crypto? Over the last 41 days, crypto has raised $1.1 trillion in the crypto market cap, or $27 billion per day. The crypto market cap is now 10% below levels seen during the record $19 billion liquidation on October 10th, which is not very bullish, going back below those huge liquidation wicks. This is a structural move. Let us explain. So the decline has been strange for one key reason. There haven't been many material bearish developments on the fundamental side of crypto. You could argue that it's only been bullish kind of events, but the price isn't reflecting it. Just days ago, President Trump said America being number one in crypto is his top priority. And yet Bitcoin is down 25% in 1 month. Leverage in crypto is unique. It's common for speculators to take on positions that are levered 20x, 50x, or even 100x. When millions of traders are using leverage, this leads to a domino effect. And as a result, when these sudden downswings happen in crypto, liquidations surge. As seen on October 10th, the $19.2 billion liquidation spree led to the first ever $20,000 Bitcoin daily candlestick. And over the last 16 days alone, we've seen 3 days with liquidations exceeding $1 billion. Daily liquidations of 500 million plus have become a normal occurrence, particularly in periods with thin volume and the results of violent crypto swings. And it goes in both directions. And it also explains the sudden shifts in sentiment. The crypto fear and greed index has officially fallen to 10, extreme fear, and this now ties the bottom seen in February 2025, even as Bitcoin is up 25% since the April bottom. Leverage is amplifying shifts in investor sentiment as well. Therefore, when you really zoom out, it seems that crypto is in a structural bear market. The fundamental value of crypto has only improved, but market dynamics are shifting. As with any efficient market, the wrinkles will work their way out, and we think a bottom is near. The reality is the global M2 money supply is now at a record $137 trillion. Japan is preparing $110 billion plus in stimulus, and 2,000 tariff dividends are coming. This downturn is a mere growing pain for crypto. So a lot of good points here, but one thing I'll say is a lot of these influencers and newsletters on Twitter talk about like Bitcoin and a lot of these top assets, maybe ETH or Solana as well, and that they're doing decent but not amazing compared to TradFi. But the biggest, thing is that most people who are in crypto are probably in altcoins, which are getting absolutely decimated over the past, really year. And so there's just a lot of expectations of what this year should have been, and it falling short. And so they keep saying, the M2 money supply is, going up, and all the stimulus is coming, and there's a lot of good, macro events coming for crypto. But when they say crypto, they really just mean Bitcoin. So it's become kind of, evident where it's like people who have a lot of money, who mostly in Bitcoin, which is not most of crypto, they're saying, yeah, this is great. Bitcoin's still doing fine. What are you guys talking about? This is not a bear market. Bitcoin's still above 100K or 90K. At the same time, most people who are in crypto are not in that position. They're not holding a lot of Bitcoin. They're holding mostly altcoins, myself included. And then you just see, people saying, what are you guys talking about? It's not a bear market. Yet your portfolio is down like massively. And so I think there's a lot of kind of disparity between, it's kind of like, the haves and have-nots. It's kind of like a lot of disparity between, what we see in a growing kind of social classes where there's people with a lot of money and a lot of people with a lot less money. And so I think we're seeing that as well in crypto, where it's just like the people who didn't have as much money to put into Bitcoin have it all in altcoins. And so a lot of these OGs from previous cycle who have a bunch of Bitcoin, they're saying, yeah, this is totally fine, just buy the dip. But when they say buy the dip, they're talking about buy the dip on Bitcoin, not buy the dip on altcoins, which just keep dipping over and over again. That's one thing I kind of wanted to point out as well, and we'll get more into that in a second. But we also have Wintermute is buying millions of Bitcoin, Sol, and ETH every minute. The last time they did this was before a huge market pump. What do they know? Usually they know that they're going to pump it, which is why they're buying it. So if this is real, then Wintermute is planning on a relief rally at the very least. And so that's good for our bags if we want to, potentially get out. We also have Hunter Horsley here, who's a Bitwise CEO, and he says, here's what I see is happening on 4-year cycles. The common view, people believe in 4-year cycles, and that 2026 will thus be a down year for Bitcoin. The first order effect, people thus sell in 2025 to avoid the down market year. The second order effect, the 2025 sellers cause 2025 to be a down year, thus breaking the 4-year cycle. Third order effect, 2026 is open season, and the 4-year cycle is broken. And so Bitcoin is at 2.5 year to date. It's actually pretty much break even now, because that's what I was saying before. The yearly open is at 93K. And so yesterday we were at break even on the year. Typically this year in a 4-year cycle is bullish and it's green, and the next year is red. And so we're seeing here that we're pretty much at zero right now. And so he's saying what will happen is, as people sell and think this is the end of the 4-year cycle, it causes Bitcoin to be red on the year, and then next year will be green. That is a very real possibility. We've talked about this before, where we think a lot of times the 4-year cycle is broken and then new liquidity will be coming in the form of next year. It is very possible, but also at the same time, you have to protect your downside, because what if the 4-year cycle is still real and this is the top like it has been in every other cycle? And so that's where I'm saying, I was de-risking around this area, around 102 to 105-ish. I was de-risking here because if we do have a huge downturn, it usually happens pretty quick. If we, go into a bear market, it tends to happen very fast. Like one day there's just like negative 20% on Bitcoin and altcoins will go 50%. So it usually happens very quickly when it does happen. So That's why I was de-risking. But it also doesn't mean that I can't get back in if, the money printer starts turning back on in January. We get a new Fed chair and a bunch of stimulus checks and everyone's printing money again, that I definitely can get back in. But protecting the downside is also a big thing, because a lot of these people will say, hey, this time is different. Make sure you're still holding your spot for next year, because next year could be green. But if it's not, then who's left holding the bag? Then we have stop staring at the 1 hour chart. Look at 2030. So Hoskinson said this recently.
Crypto is the opt-out. Crypto is the exit. Crypto is the solution. And so, yes, the markets go up and yes, the markets go down. But there's some directionality to that. The long term, we win. There's 550 million people in the cryptocurrency ecosystem, and there's going to be 1 billion by 2030. 1 billion. The majority of the world's stocks and bonds and equities will be in the cryptocurrency space by 2030. And all of y'all paper hands are just running around. Be like, oh no, the markets are falling, What do? What did I do? We all headed for 10 trillion, guys, because trillion doesn't even mean anything anymore. The dollar doesn't mean anything anymore. Everything ought to be priced in crypto.
Now, the big gripe that I have with this is he's kind of like the old OG who was in crypto, obviously a long time, and he's worth multi-hundred millions of dollars. And so it's very easy for OGs to come out and say, hey, don't look at the 1 hour chart, look at 2030. But if you're way down on your bags for this year and you've been holding for the last 4 years, and it feels like you've made no progress over the last 4 years holding crypto, and you were told by all these OGs just hold these bags and whatnot, it feels really bad when they say, hey, don't worry, 2030 is going to be great. It's like, hey, I know you're down a lot of money, but don't worry. In 2030, twice as many people will be in crypto. It's like, I don't really care that twice as many people are going to be in crypto in 2030. I care that I've just wasted 4 years holding all these bags. And so there's a big disconnect between a lot of these OGs and a lot of people who have entered crypto in the last couple years or so. Especially if you look at Cardano, we go to the weekly chart. It didn't even make a new high this year. And Charles Hoskinson is saying, hey, don't worry, in 2030, we're going to have twice as many people. Well, we had about twice as many, probably way more people this cycle as well, who know about crypto. And a lot of them chose not to be in it, or they chose other coins. And this is the Cardano chart. And he's saying, hey, don't worry, 2030 is going to be much better. Don't look at the 1 hour chart. When you could actually look at the weekly chart or the monthly chart on Cardano and be like, it still doesn't look good. But that's just me. Anyways, moving on, we have Chainlink whales are shifting gears. Major wallets are accumulating 150,000 Link in recent sessions. Is Link ready for the next breakout? We also have whales are buying Chainlink like crazy, $2.36 million after weeks of selling. Link also flashed a bullish RSI divergence, a signal that often appears before reversals. And this comes while the token is still down at 33% in 3 months. So we could have a relief rally on Chainlink as well. We also have the Bitwise Chainlink ETF is now listed on the DTCC platform, which precedes the SEC greenlight, which is bullish. And maybe people are expecting a ETF for Chainlink, or maybe they're also just, looking for a bounce because we've come into this kind of area of support here down at $13.50. We're now sitting at 14. What I'd want to see for Chainlink again is we're kind of at this big area of resistance around $15.50 coming up soon. And if we wanted to change market structure to bullish, we'd actually have to come back above 1637 to change back to bullish market structure on the high time frame. And so what most likely will happen, I think, is we'll get this relief rally, but we'll get the relief rally up into this level of resistance and then probably come back down unless things really change. Bitcoin starts to make new highs again. But I do think we'll go from $14 to $16 this week if Bitcoin wants to pump. So that's what I'm watching for, but I'm also watching for any wicks up into here and then rejecting, because then it's just, signs of weakness and we're selling off. So, pretty controlled downtrend right now for Chainlink. Although the market has changed, Sui still keeps pushing and breaking records. The Misten Labs team, the team behind Sui, keeps launching new products, and its ecosystem also keeps growing. And with that, many stats keep showing new all-time highs for Sui. Sui is still killing it in all the big sectors it supports, like DeFi, where DEX volumes keep making new records with $175 billion. DEXs, perps, and inflows are all surging into year-end. Institutions also gain regulatory custody and liquidity support for Sui, with Crypto.com recently launching secure institutional custody solutions for Sui tokens. Various native stablecoins are also available on Sui. For example, Circle's USDC, Sui USDE in partnership with Athena, YLDS from Figure, and USDI backed by BlackRock's tokenized money market fund BUIDL. So if you haven't used Sui lately, then come give it a try and follow Sui's X account for all the latest updates. And then moving on, we have Solana, and Solana holdings are surging with Solana digital asset treasuries and ETFs now holding 24 million SOL, a massive $3.4 billion in institutional exposure. At the same time, we have Circle just minted $750 million in USDC on Solana today, which is usually a pretty bullish thing that happens. And 95% of tokenized stock volume is trading on Solana with the picture of NVIDIA. And at the same time, Solana ETF inflows have seen 14 days of inflows, which is actually very bullish, but I will say the price doesn't really reflect it. Solana is one of the weaker coins, especially on the higher time frames right here. Just a constant downtrend. And I don't see this as the area where we would just immediately go to new highs. I do think this comes sooner than later, this 129-ish area, this big support. Whether it's a pump up into this level of resistance around 154, which I think is probably going to happen this week if we pump on Bitcoin, probably come up into this level of resistance and then reject here, and then we accumulate here. And maybe this kind of coincides with going into Q1, where we have more money printing and more, bullish factors. And so what could happen is we pump up here and then we accumulate at this 120-ish area, 120 to 130 area for a couple of weeks. And then going into Q1, we pump again. So that's a potential play right now. This is what I'm looking for. So you could take any trades up into this 154, or you could also short it going back down here. It never stops just shy of support and then goes on to make new all-time highs. So that's something to take into consideration as well. And moving on, we have BluWhale, and BluWhale shares their weekly recap. A big week at BluWhale. Here's what you missed. We have the Whale Tank V2 launch officially live on the BNB chain, our profile token platform enabling the conversion of verified agent identities into tradable tokens. The X402 rails power secure, verified financial transactions for agents. We also have BluAI 8,888 NFT benefits revealed, 3-batch access with multiple qualification points, and the whitelist is opening next week, which is this week at November 18th at 10 a.m. UTC. We also have unlock perks, honorary profile badge, 50% premium discount, agent token airdrops, and early access benefits, and more. Then we also have the strategic partnership with Biosin, fortifying BluAI's intelligence layer with one of the world's leading blockchain security firms, advanced smart contract audits, KYT compliance, and on-chain threat detection equals secure, safe AI infrastructure, building the future together. So this week, BluWhale launched Whale Tank V2, which is kind of like the virtuals on BNB chain. BluWhale's profile token platform is a 1-1 token to identity. Upgrades allow agents to become tokens as well. As 402 rails enable payments to agents, verified and unique agent identities are key to secure, safe financial transactions. Build them, launch them, and trade them, all powered by BluAI and BluWhale's network. And BluAI is now at 37,000 plus holders. Each wallet represents a believer in an AI-powered, decentralized future. The BluWhale tide keeps rising, and all BluAI holders will receive a Whale PFP. Reach out to your closest community lead to claim yours. And you can also check out BluWhale and BluAI with the link down below. And then lastly for today, we have Scoop AI Hackathon. AI agents arrive in London. So Spoon OS is a Web3 agentic operating system powered by Neo. It's designed to help developers create AI-driven applications that operate autonomously in decentralized networks. And the London edition of the hackathon introduces a battle royale style format featuring 3 checkpoints and elimination rounds. Teams that meet each stage's benchmark advance to the next round, with final submissions due on December 7th at noon. Participants will compete across 5 tracks, including AI for science, AI for DeFi and payments, vibe coding for Web3, AI prediction markets, and AI agents integrated with Web3. And the London stop is part of a broader global initiative, with Scoop AI Hackathon running in 8 cities, including Moscow, Hanoi, Tokyo, Seoul, Silicon Valley, Hyderabad, and Beijing through January 2026. The series has a $100,000 total prize pool, highlighting and growing the importance of AI and blockchain integration and shaping what organizers call the sentient economy. So that is Scoop AI Hackathon and AI agents, which are now going in London right now. And that is the video for today, guys. Bitcoin holding up above $95,000. I do think we will get some kind of pump early this week as a kind of a relief rally, whether it's to $101,000 or a bit higher towards $105-ish thousand. I do think we will have some kind of relief rally before heading lower. So that is a video for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you tomorrow.